Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed. At 1,000 subscribers, I'll be posting a special video. The fork slips from my hand when his phone buzzes. I am Alex, 16 years old. Across the table, my dad freezes with his mouth half open. The sound of that notification hangs between us like a threat. He snatches the phone off the table, thumb smashing the screen dark. My fork is still on the floor, and somehow that feels wrong. He forces one more bite into his mouth, chewing way too fast. By the time I pick up the fork, his face looks almost normal again. "You good?" I push the words out like a joke, not a question. "Yeah, just work stuff." He reaches for the carton again. The phone rests near his leg now, screen tilted hard away from me. I tell myself none of this matters, but my chest feels tight. Another buzz hits the wood and jumps through my wrist. His hand twitches toward it, then stops when he notices me watching. He lets out a small laugh that dies before it finishes. He lays his hand flat beside the plate like he can pin the phone down. He waits a few seconds, counting in his head. I can tell from the tight line of his jaw. Then he grabs the phone again like nothing strange just happened. The screen lights on his palm, and my eyes move before I can stop them. I catch the name Tom with a little heart parked right beside it. He flips the phone face down so fast the knife rattles. The sound slices through the quiet louder than the buzz did. I pretend to stab a potato piece, my hand not fully steady. I can feel him watching me now instead of his food. I forgot to text him back earlier. His voice sounds casual and sharp. He clears his throat and picks up the knife again. His cuts come slower now, every little scrape dragging over my nerves. I do not ask who him is, but the question burns my tongue. "How was school today?" He aims the question at his plate. "It was fine." I hear my own voice flatten. Some test and some group project all spill out in random order. He nods at weird moments and misses others, eyes unfocused near my shoulder. "School was boring and normal, just not the real story tonight." I talk about a hallway argument because it sounds safe enough. While I talk, he keeps shifting in his chair, legs bouncing under the table. Every time the phone vibrates, his shoulder jerks like someone tugged a string. "New friend." I nudge my fork toward his hidden phone. "Huh?" He actually jumps a little before he laughs again. "Just some guy from work asking about shifts." He wipes his hand on a napkin. He finally looks at me full on, searching my face for a verdict. Back then I told myself he might be honest. That is what you do when something scares you too much. You slap a boring label on it so it stops glowing. Only the tiny heart after that name keeps flashing in my head. Dinner drags longer than usual and time feels stretched thin. I finish the food in front of me, then keep scraping the plate. He keeps checking the upside-down phone, fingers tapping close to the edge. By the time the containers are empty, we are still pretending nothing changed. "I will clean up, you can go sit down." His voice comes out gentler. He stands so fast the chair legs shriek against the floor. Plates clatter together in his hands as he stacks them. Before he turns away, he slips the phone into his pocket and pats it. I stack my own plate slower, replaying that quick glimpse of the screen. Tom with a heart does not sound like a random coworker anymore. I carry dishes to the sink, letting water run too hot over my fingers. Behind me I hear his steps already moving toward the hallway. "Hey, I have to take this in the other room." His voice floats from the doorway. I turn just enough to see him halfway out, one hand on the frame. The phone glows near his ear, screen angled away from me on reflex. His shoulders hunch a little as he listens, like the words could hit. He catches my eye for a second and looks down fast. Then he is gone and the space where he stood feels hollow. The house suddenly sounds busy, cabinets banging and pipes humming under the sink. Over that noise I hear his voice in the hall, lower and warmer than usual. I twist the faucet off and stand still, every sense pushing toward the hallway. I cannot make out words, just a soft stream rising and falling. Then there is a short laugh I almost do not recognize. He never laughs like that with me, it lands lighter somehow. My skin prickles because now that little heart has its own sound. I know I could walk away and mind my business. That would be the respectful thing, the good kid answer. Instead I stay frozen by the sink, leaning closer without moving my feet. The call ends quicker than I expect and silence slams back in. His steps return toward the kitchen, steady but not completely steady. I jump to turn the water on again and grab a sponge. The act feels fake, but I commit to it anyway. He walks in with his hair slightly mussed and eyes a bit shiny. I pretend not to notice and stare hard at a dirty plate. Everything okay? I throw the question out like I do not care much. Yeah, I already told you it is just work stuff, he mutters and opens the fridge to stare inside. He drums his fingers against the door, waiting for something to distract him. I dry my hands with the towel, heart beating heavy against my ribs. The question about Tom pushes upward, but I clamp my jaw shut. We both move around the kitchen like the floor might crack under us. He grabs a soda and I hang the towel over a chair. The phone buzzes in his pocket and his hand is there instantly. He does not answer this time, just presses the phone closer and swallows. That tiny motion tells me more than any explanation he could give. I head to my room earlier than usual, and he lets me go. His relief hits me like a draft when I reach the hallway. I close my door and sit on the edge of the bed replaying dinner. The heart and that secret laugh replay together while his almost smile hangs there. Back then I did not have words like boyfriend or closet for him. I only knew something under our normal routine was shifting out of place. I stretched out on the mattress and stared up at nothing. If I had asked one real question at that table, maybe that night would have unfolded differently. I lie about my plans before he even grabs his keys. My voice comes out light and joking, like I am talking about nothing. Inside, everything feels wired tight because I already decide to follow. I know it is messed up, but staying home feels worse. He moves around the kitchen faster than usual, checking his watch twice. There is no tie, no fancy jacket, just jeans and a careful shirt. That mix makes the whole thing feel more like a date than a meeting. If I had been brave, I would have asked directly, instead I watch. You sure you will be late? I ask while leaning on the counter. He lets out a quiet, probably yeah, and his eyes drift past my head. Do you need me to heat anything when you get back? Nah, I will grab something out there. His hand tightens around his keys. He taps the keys once against his palm, then shoves them into his pocket. Text me if anything comes up. His voice tries to sound normal. Sure, I answer and keep my tone flat enough to slide under his radar. He walks out, and the silence he leaves behind feels louder. The door clicks once and I count slowly to 30 under my breath. My heart thumps harder with each number, like I am daring myself. At 30 I grab my hoodie and my backpack and bolt. If he had forgotten something and turned back, I would have been caught there. The evening air hits me sharp enough to clear some of the fog. I unlock my bike with clumsy fingers and shove it free from the rack. There is still a piece of me that wants to go back inside. Curiosity wins and I push off hard toward the end of the street. I spot his sedan waiting at the light before he turns onto the main road. I hang back near the curb, close enough to track him without standing out. My legs burn as I pedal, but the fear of losing him burns more. Looking at it now, I know how stalkerish this sounds. At that time it just felt necessary. Traffic slows us and that helps me stay hidden between other cars. Whenever he hits a red light, I pretend to check my phone at the corner. If he had glanced in his mirror for more than a second, he could have recognized me. Every time his brake lights flash, my stomach twists like I am the one on trial. He finally pulls into a small plaza and finds a spot near the middle. I roll past like I am just cruising, then circle behind the building. My chest feels squeezed as I lock the bike again and crouch behind a low wall. From there I can peek around the corner and see the parking rows. Another car pulls in a minute later and stops right beside his. A guy steps out and closes his door slowly, then checks his hair in the window. Even from here I can tell my father is watching that little routine with way too much focus. He gets out and their faces light up like they have been waiting all week. They move toward each other and pause like they cannot decide how to greet. For a second I expect a handshake, instead the other guy touches his arm. It is quick and careful, but my brain flags it as something more than friendly. My throat goes dry and the word date finally clicks into place. They walk side by side toward the entrance, bodies leaning a little closer than strangers. At the door, Tom holds it open, and my father brushes past with a small smile. That smile is not one I know from home, it belongs to whoever is inside there. I edge along the wall until I can see through a side window without exposing myself. They take a small table near the center where I can spot them easily. No menus yet, just their faces tilted toward each other like gravity changed. Tom talks with his hands and my father keeps leaning in, trying to catch every word. I cannot hear them, but the energy at table hits me from here. Part of me wants to march in, sit down, and demand an explanation. Another part stays glued to the rough concrete because I am scared of the answer. Watching them laugh together feels like pressing on a bruise I pretended did not exist. In that moment I told myself I was only protecting us, really I just wanted proof. Plates show up and they barely look away from each other long enough to start eating. At one point Tom reaches across and wipes something from the corner of his mouth. My father laughs, ducks his head, and does not pull back from that touch. My hands squeeze the edge of the wall until my fingers ache from holding on. Then Tom looks past him toward the window and my body locks in place. For a heartbeat I swear he stares right where I am crouched outside. I duck lower, scraping my knee on the concrete and bite down on a gasp. If either of them stands up right now and walks out, I am finished. After a moment their attention snaps back to each other and the tension in my shoulders drops. Relief washes through me so hard I almost laugh out loud. Instead I stay pressed against the wall, heart racing, ears tuned to any movement. I already know I have crossed a line, but I cannot make my legs leave. A burst of their conversation reaches me when someone opens the door nearby. I hear him murmur, "I miss this," in a low voice, soft but clear. My father breathes out a soft "me too" as he leans forward, forearms on the table like he is afraid to lose the moment. The door swings shut again, and I am left alone with those sentences echoing. That is the instant when the puzzle finally locks together and stops being theory. Work buddies do not usually talk about missing this in that gentle tone. Fathers do not hide pleasant coworker dinners behind half answers and nervous jokes. My chest tightens and a stupid part of me feels betrayed that he never trusted me with this. I realize if I keep watching I will either burst in there or break down. Neither option helps anyone, so I finally push away from the wall. My legs are shaky as I get back to the bike and fumble with the lock. I do not take one last look through the window because I am afraid I will stay. The ride back feels longer, although the streets are almost empty and quiet. Wind stings my eyes and I tell myself it is only from speed. By the time our house comes into view my heartbeat still slams against my ribs. Through the front window everything looks normal, while I stand outside gripping handlebars that suddenly feel like they belong to somebody else. The doorbell jolts me before I can finish the level. My controller hits the couch and I freeze for a second. We rarely get surprise visitors on a weeknight, so my pulse spikes. From the hallway I hear his quick footsteps heading for the door. I already know who it is before he grabs the handle. He pulls the door open and there he is, standing on the porch. Tom smiles like this is casual, but his shoulders look a little too stiff. I recognize his face instantly from that night and my stomach flips hard. A white box hangs from his hand as some kind of peace offering. None of us actually say peace, but that is exactly what walks in. He steps aside faster than usual to let Tom pass into the hallway. "Hey, come on in," his voice sounds lighter than it has all week. He glances at me for a split second, checking if I will play along. "This is Tom, we work out at the same place sometimes." Tom lifts the box a little toward me like a gift he is not sure I want. "Nice to finally meet you." Tom shifts the box to his other hand. He reaches out for a quick handshake and looks me straight in the face. His palm is warm and a little damp, and I feel him studying me. I squeeze back harder than needed because I am not sure who is being tested. For a second it feels like we both know this is an interview. "I brought donuts, just thought I would show up with something decent." "Sweet, my favorite food group." I toss that out because I need to say something. He laughs once and looks relieved, which makes me feel worse for messing with him. In the kitchen, my father starts moving plates around way more than necessary. Nobody mentions that Tom already knows exactly where this house is located. We end up at the table, the three of us in a lopsided triangle. He places the box in the middle like it is a centerpiece or an excuse. My father takes the spot beside Tom instead of across from him, which I clock immediately. My chair scrapes a little as I sit down, and the sound cuts right through the small talk. I break the lid seal on the box just to do something with my hands. So you two lift together. I make it a statement, not a question. Sometimes, yeah, our schedules match up here and there. Tom answers quickly before my father can jump in, and that tiny move tells me plenty. I keep watching because nothing feels ended. So which gym is it again? I poe. Key at the donut and keep my tone casual. My father answers faster than Tom this time, naming a place across town. Sounds cool even though he has never once brought that spot up in his life. The lie sits between us heavier than the box. So what are you into, besides calling us out on false advertising? Tom leans back a little and gives me room to answer. School and video games and trying not to fail gym class. I tick them off on my fingers. That last part makes both of them laugh, and I hate that I like their reaction. There is a warmth at the table that feels borrowed and fragile. I know warmth like that can explode when the truth finally drops. While they ask about classes, their chairs drift closer together without either of them noticing. Once in a while, their knees bump under the table, and neither one moves away. I wonder if they realize their bodies are snitching on them. I stand up for water even though my cup is still half full. You two want anything while I am up, I throw it over my shoulder. They both answer no at the same time and then laugh too long. In the kitchen, I stall near the sink and listen to their voices drop lower. I should rinse dishes, instead I hold my breath and lean toward the doorway. He seems okay, Tom murmurs like he is reviewing my performance. I do not want him caught in any mess because of me. My father goes quiet for a beat and then answers, I would never let that happen. There is a tiny shake in his voice I have never heard before. Hearing that wobble scares me more than anything they have done tonight. I step back into the room. They break apart like students caught cheating. Tom straightens up fast and reaches for his drink even though it is already near him. My father picks at a crumb that is not there on the table. I act like I heard nothing even though every word is scratched into my brain. So tell me your favorite game right now. Tom clears his throat and forces a new topic. I explain a complicated match I had last night and exaggerate a little for fun. He actually keeps up and throws in questions that prove he listens. It is annoying how easy he is to like. At some point, my father mispronounces a character name and we burst out laughing together. He grins at both of us, eyes bright in a way I have not seen around me in months. The sound in the room shifts from cautious to almost normal, and I forget for 1 second why this is complicated. Then I catch Tom looking at him like he is something rare and important. That look yanks me right back to the secret under all this joking. After a little while, Tom checks his watch and his shoulders sink a bit. I should head out before traffic gets wild. He stands and smooths his shirt. My father rises too quickly and nearly knocks his chair backward. For a moment it looks like he might follow Tom straight out the door. We move toward the front together and the air feels heavier. Thanks for coming by tonight, Tom. I toss that out and pretend this is just a casual visit. Tom gives me a small nod and a half smile like he gets the signal. They settle for a quick shoulder squeeze that still carries way too much feeling. The door shuts after him and quiet drops over the entryway. My father stays there with his hand on the knob like he is not ready to let go yet. You kind of liked him, right? He studies my face as if the whole night depends on my answer. I realize he is not only asking about Tom, he is asking what I think of him now. Yeah, he actually seems pretty cool. I shrug and aim for casual while my insides buzz. I add that he should invite him over again sometime and watch his whole face change. His shoulders drop a little and he lets out a breath I had not noticed he was holding. That single exhale tells me this night matters way more than he planned to admit. I head down the hall toward my room and feel his gaze on my back. If I turned around, I know he would have that same bright look from the table. I close my door instead and rest my forehead against it for a minute. Tom is no longer just a guest in my mind, he is proof that this hidden life exists. I know sooner or later I will have to stop pretending I do not see it. Who is Tom to you? That is how I start. No warm-up, no hint, just that sentence tossed into the room. He sits on the couch with his phone half raised when I drop it. His thumb freezes over the screen and his whole body goes still. For work, he answers after a beat, voice thin and careful. He lowers the phone like it suddenly weighs more than it should. Why? His eyes stay on my face but his grip on the case tightens. He knows exactly why, I can see the math running across his features. I am done pretending I do not see it too. I followed you last week. The confession lands between us like a brick I cannot pick back up. He flinches and finally looks away, jaw clamped so hard it twitches. I push through anyway because seeking down now would crush me. I saw you two at that restaurant, you looked happy. His head snaps back up, anger and fear flashing at the same time. You trailed me, he asks, the volume jumping without warning. I nod once because there is no way to dress that up. It was messed up, I know that, I just needed to understand. My chest pounds while I wait for him to explode or shut down. He stands abruptly and the remote tumbles to the floor. That was private, he says, pacing 2 steps then stopping. That was my time, you had no right to spy on me. He drags a hand over his face like he wants to wipe the scene away. For a second I am the villain in my own living room. I push myself up and block his path before he can bolt. I get that really, and I am sorry I crossed that line. My hands shake but I keep going because this is bigger than my guilt. But I saw you with him and I am not stupid. The last words come out sharper than I planned and hang there. He sinks down onto the edge of the chair as if his legs give up. The phone rests face down beside him, still close enough to grab. He stares at a random spot on the carpet, breathing fast and shallow. The room feels crowded even though it is only the two of us. I stay standing because sitting would make this feel like surrender. What exactly do you think you saw? His voice drops to something low and raw. My throat tightens but I force myself to answer because this is the point. You were there with him like it was a date, not just coworkers. You looked at him the way you used to look at mom in old photos. The last part slips out before I can stop it and I instantly regret it. His shoulders jerk and he squeezes his eyes shut for a moment. When he opens them again, there is a shine there that was not there earlier. You should not have had to see that first, he mutters, barely above a whisper. But you are not wrong about what it was. Silence stretches so long I can hear the clock in the hallway. I want to fill it with something stupid like another joke. Instead I walk over and lower myself onto the coffee table facing him. My knees brush his and he does not move away this time. That tiny detail gives me enough courage to keep pushing. Are you in love with him? The question sounds huge in my own ears, like I just ripped open the ceiling. He lets out a short bitter laugh that dies halfway out of his chest. I am trying to figure out if I am allowed to be, he answers, staring at his hands. That line hits harder than anything he has said all night. I swallow and feel it scrape all the way down. So are you into guys? The word I really mean hovers right there and refuses to land. His fingers twist together until his knuckles go pale. When he looks up, he looks like someone who already knows the verdict. Yes. It is barely more than breath, but it is clear. He lets it sit there for a second like he needs to hear himself. I like men, and I have been fighting that for a long time. He finally says it out loud, and I feel the floor tilt under us. My first instinct is stupid anger about secrets. I almost snap that he should have trusted me sooner. Then I see how his shoulders curl in like he expects a hit. That sight knocks the heat out of my voice before it escapes. He looks less like a liar and more like somebody bracing for impact. Why did you not just tell me? It comes out softer than I expect, almost pleading. I was scared you would hate me, he answers, eyes locked on mine. Scared you would think I made everything about me and forget about you. He laughs once and it cracks halfway through like his throat cannot carry it. I lean back slightly and stare at him like I am seeing a stranger. Not because he likes men, but because I never realized how terrified he was. Do you really think I would throw you away over this? My voice wobbles and I do not even try to hide it. The idea hurts more than all the lies combined. I did not know what you would do, he says, palms open now. You are still my kid and you have your own stuff to deal with. I did not want to dump my whole mess into your lap. He gestures around us like the air is thick with whatever he has been hiding. For once the house feels too small for everything we are trying to say. I already live in it though, I snap then catch myself. I let out a long breath and try again. I am already in this, whether you tell me or not, I still see things. His gaze drops at that and he nods once, slow and heavy. For the first time tonight it feels like we are standing on the same side. I am sorry you had to figure it out that way, he adds quietly. I wanted to wait until I had the right words ready. He rubs the back of his neck, suddenly looking 10 years older. There never was a right time, every day I put it off it got worse. Hearing that makes me realize how long this has been chewing at him. I am not mad that you Reggae, I finally say, the word landing solid. I am mad you thought I could not handle knowing who you really are. My eyes burn and I blink fast, not wanting to completely lose control. I would have worried sure, but I would not have left. I need him to understand that more than anything. He stares at me like he is trying to memorize every detail of my face. Do you actually mean that? He asks, voice barely steady. Because if you walk away now, I do not know how I get back up. I feel my stomach drop because I have never heard that kind of honesty from him. The weight of his fear presses right against my ribs. I slide off the table and sit beside him on the couch. Our shoulders touch and neither of us pretends not to notice. I am still here, I say, simple and clear. I am not going anywhere, even if this is weird for a while. He closes his eyes and leans his head back like he finally lets go of something. I should apologize for snapping earlier, he murmurs after a moment. You were wrong to tell me, but I get why you did it. He glances over with a small crooked smile that looks half ashamed. If I were you, I might have done worse to figure it out. That weird little joke takes some pressure off without erasing what happened. I am sorry for creeping on you, I admit, cheeks hot. I did not trust you would ever tell me and that freaked me out. I wanted to know if you were okay or if you were getting hurt somehow. Saying that out loud makes me realize how much I have been worrying. For once his secret feels less like a light switch and more like a wound. His hand moves like he might put an arm around me, then stops halfway. I see the hesitation and bridge the gap myself. I lean into him and he wraps his arm around my shoulders slowly. It is awkward for a second, then everything in me loosens. We sit there breathing in sync, both of us clutching at this fragile truce. After a while he starts talking in short pieces instead of long stories. About learning to walk through each day while pretending, about talking to exactly two friends who know. He does not go into early years or big history, he keeps it focused on now. On how meeting Tom woke up stuff he thought he had buried for good. Every detail feels like a new crack in the shell he built around himself. Please do not tell anyone yet, he asks, thumb tracing a line on his knee. Not your friends, not your mom, not my mother, no one. I am not ready to deal with all of that, I can barely handle this conversation. He laughs under his breath again, and this time it sounds more like himself. I nod because I know this secret can crush him if it spreads wrong. I will not out you, I promise, the words heavier than any promise I have made. But I also want you to have space to be happy, not just hiding forever. He studies me, trying to see if this is something I will resent later. I will figure it out, he answers, steady for the first time tonight. Knowing you are not against me makes that feel possible. We fall quiet again, but it is a different kind of quiet now. Not the icy one from before, more like both of us catching our breath. I feel drained and wired at the same time. I know this talk changes everything about how I see him. I have no idea yet how it will change everything else. On the table his phone lights up with a new notification. Even from here I can read the name that appears on the screen. He notices it a second later and his hand hovers over the device. For a moment he looks at me instead of the message. Do you want to answer? I ask, and whatever he decides will shape what comes next. He taps the screen once, then pulls his hand back. The preview shows Tom's name and a few clipped words. His thumb hovers like touching it might blow everything up. I watch the light from the phone spill over his knee. We both know silence is its own kind of answer. He finally unlocks it and reads the message out loud. Just checking on you, make sure you got home all right. His voice softens in the middle without his permission. Another line pops up before he can react. If you're busy, I will leave you alone. You should reply, I say, my throat tight. Otherwise, he will think he did something wrong. He glances at me like I just handed him a weapon. I told him I was afraid to talk to you tonight. Hearing that hurts more than I expect, but I nod anyway. He starts typing fast, then erases the whole thing. Starts again, deletes again, locks the phone once more. This feels like I am choosing between you and him. He rubs his forehead, eyes squeezed shut for a second. I hate that I put him in this position without a guide. Tell him you talked to me and I did not freak out. The words come out shaky, but I stand by them. Tell him I know and I am trying to get used to it. He studies me like he is checking for hidden cracks. Then he unlocks the phone and begins to write slowly. Had a hard conversation with my kid, he types, lips moving. He knows about us now, he is still here. He pauses, then adds, I am scared but hopeful. He shows me the screen like he needs my sign-off. I nod and he hits send before he can chicken out. We sit there staring at the phone like it might bite. The buzz comes quicker than either of us expect. Do you want to talk on the phone? Tom has written. I am here if you need me, whatever you decide. My ribs feel tight because now this is 3 people, not 2. I can go to my room if you want privacy. I offer it because I do not want him trapped. He shakes his head almost immediately, fingers curling around the device. I am done taking calls in hallways like a teenager sneaking around. He breathes out and hits the little call icon anyway. When Tom answers, his voice spills out low and careful. You okay? Comes first, like that is priority 1. My father leans forward, elbow on his knee, eyes on the floor. We talked, he says, and his voice sounds raw but steady. My kid knows I am gay now, and he is not running from me. There is a tiny pause on the other end that stretches long. Then I hear a soft laugh that sounds more like relief than humor. That is huge, Tom says, you can almost hear him smiling. How are you holding up for real? The question hangs there, and I can tell no one ever asks him that. I am terrified and weirdly lighter, my father admits, glancing my way. I thought this would be the worst night of my life. He squeezes the bridge of his nose like his skull aches. But he is sitting right here, I did not lose him. Hearing him say it like that makes my chest heat. Can I say hi? Tom asks after a moment. The sudden shift makes my stomach lurch hard. I never planned on speaking to him during this first fallout. My father looks at me like he will hang up if I flinch. I swallow and reach out my hand for the phone. Hey, I say, pressing the speaker to my ear. Hi, Tom answers, sounding more nervous than before. Thank you for not blowing everything up tonight. His words are awkward and sincere, which somehow helps. I let out a breath I did not realize I was holding. I like him, I say, glancing sideways at my father. But I am still mad I had to figure it out by spying. A quiet chuckle slips through the line. That sounds fair, I would probably do worse at your age. The honesty disarms me faster than any polished speech. I do not want to make his life harder, I admit. I just want him around long term, you know. There is a beat where none of us speaks. Then Tom answers, voice firm now. I want that too, I am not here to wreck anything. We trade the phone back and forth in short bursts. No long speeches, just little pieces of truth thrown into the air. They talk about maybe seeing each other later in the week. My father keeps glancing at me every time they mention plans. I keep nodding because I refuse to be the reason he stays alone. By the time the call ends, his shoulders sit lower, less rigid. He stares at the dark screen like it just rearranged his whole future. How are you doing? I ask, because he never gets that question from me. He laughs once, wiping at the corner of his eye. I feel like I just ran a marathon sitting down. The next few days have this strange new rhythm. He checks in with me before texting, which feels backwards. Is it okay if he comes by Friday? He asks one afternoon. He leans against the doorway, trying to act casual and failing. I tell him yes, and my stomach flips because now it feels official. We decide a few things together at the kitchen table. No secret touching when other relatives might drop in. No forcing me to talk about it with anyone I do not choose. If I need space, I can tap the table twice and he will back off. It sounds silly, but having rules makes the whole thing less chaotic. Friday creeps up faster than I thought it would. I clean my room even though no one asked. I rehearse possible reactions in my head like lines in a play. What if they sit too close? What if they barely look at each other? Every scenario ends with me wanting to protect him from something. When the doorbell finally rings, my heart slams into my throat. My father looks at me once before moving to answer. This time he does not pause at the handle like he did before. He opens the door wide and steps aside with a small nod. Tom stands there with that same cautious smile, but his eyes are softer. "Come in," my father says, voice clear and sure. He reaches out and gives Tom's arm a quick squeeze. Not hidden in shadows, not buried in some parking lot. Right there in our front room where I can see it. His hand lingers a split second longer than a normal greeting. I watch them move through the house with a new awareness. This time he introduces me without a fake story attached. "This is my kid, he knows about us," he says, breathing those last words. Tom looks at me for confirmation and I nod once. The relief on both their faces hits me harder than I expected. We sit down and fall into an odd, almost comfortable conversation. They ask about my week, I ask about whatever show they both watch. Between jokes I sneak in one blunt question. Who else knows besides me? The quiet that follows tells me how tight their world really is. Tom answers first, rubbing at the back of his neck. "One friend, my brother, nobody at work." My father adds that two close friends know, nobody in our family. He glances toward the window like the neighbors might hear through the walls. Hearing those numbers makes the risk feel way more real. "If anybody ever starts going after him, I want us coordinated," I say. "Like game plan in advance, not chaos." Tom nods slowly, eyes locked on mine. "Exit strategy, clear roles, all that," he says. For a moment it feels like we are planning a heist, not holidays. After dinner, my father steps outside to grab something from the car. For the first time it is just me and Tom in the kitchen. We move plates around and rinse things in a kind of clumsy duet. He clears his throat once, then looks straight at me. "Do you actually feel okay, or are you just being strong for him?" The question throws me more than I want to admit. I rest my hands on the edge of the counter. "Both," I answer, because anything else would be fake. I am still weirded out sometimes, but I am proud of him too. My voice shakes on that last part and I let it. He nods slowly, like he recognizes that mix. "It is a lot for a teenager to carry," he says. "You do not have to fix him, that is not your job." I shrug because that is exactly what I have been trying to do. "Yeah, but I can make it a little less awful," I mutter. "If you ever feel trapped, you can talk to me too," he offers. Not as replacement parent, just as the guy who cares about him. I study his face, looking for any sign he is bluffing. All I see is someone as nervous and invested as we are. That realization loosens some knot I did not know I had. When he leaves later, they hug at the door without hiding it. Not some long movie moment, just a firm pull and a quiet breath. I look away to give them a bit of privacy in our own hallway. Still, I can feel the warmth between them even from here. It no longer feels like spying, it feels like witnessing something true. After the door closes, my father turns to me with red eyes. "Thank you for tonight," he says, voice rough but clear. "I know this is not the life you pictured." I laugh once, sharp and tired. "I pictured you alone and miserable. Actually, this is an upgrade." He snorts, then lets out a real laugh that shakes some tension loose. "This is still scary as hell," he admits, rubbing his palms together. "But knowing you are in my corner changes everything." He looks at me like I just pulled him out of deep water. It is one of the few times I feel older than my actual age. Later, I end up on my bed with my laptop open. I type "supporting a gay parent" into the search bar. A flood of stories hits the screen, some hopeful and some brutal. Kids talking about safety, about boundaries, about not outing anyone. I skim until my eyes blur, trying to build a map out of strangers. What hits me hardest are the parts about balance. Letting them have their own process without becoming their therapist. Keeping my own support system so I do not collapse under theirs. Checking in instead of guessing, asking what they need each week. It sounds simple written down, living it is the complicated part. I start a list in the Notes app because my brain needs structure. Ask him regularly who knows now. Help cover if he needs an excuse to leave bad situations. Remind him he deserves happiness, not just survival. Watch my own limits, talk to someone if I am drowning. That is how I end up here, typing this out for strangers. I have a father who has a boyfriend he tried to hide from me. Now he trusts me with the truth, and I am terrified of dropping it. I want to protect him without pushing him to move faster than he can. So I am asking you, Internet, how do I actually show up for him without outing him or burning myself out along the way?